Hello everybody, and welcome to another tutorial in camera and lens repair. And this time this Macro-Elmar-R Aperture 4 and 100. This is a old Leica from 19 something 78 or so. Has a problem. As the title said, it has sticky aperture blades, and I will actually show how you can fix it. You see, this is really a nice lens, and works. The focus is kind of smooth and no problem there. But the aperture, which you can see if we look into the camera here, we can try to close the aperture to 22, but nothing really happened in the lens, because as you can see in a short time, if I move the aperture connection pin or whatever it's called, that connects to the camera, well, this lens will be used on a Nikon camera with an adapter, so it's not really a problem. But of course the aperture have to work. The aperture ring is actually nice and smooth, so no problem there. So I can close it, and as I close it, you can see, well, there's actually kind of some oil. Maybe it's better on the other side. Too many reflections. But if you see here, I can fully open it, and as you can see here, you can just close it. So look what happened when I turn the aperture ring. The blades kind of get stuck in a way and will try to bend a little as I open it. Of course, it's no problem with full open, but I would like to show you how you can fix it. It took me some time to figure out how to get into the lens, into the aperture assembly, which sits in the front of the lens. So if we look here, set it to near end, and well, it's not really the oil, the grease from the focusing system that's makes the problem. As I thought, okay, well, too much oil in this focusing system, but no, it wasn't that. So I think, okay, I have to go into it from the front and take a look into the aperture, the front of the aperture assembly and the blades, but it didn't help me much. So I figure out one thing: there is no repair manual for this. I actually didn't found anything. And you might think, what is this sticky tape on the barrel here? It is, and this is super important, because when we take apart the front here, which means the aperture assembly, the front lens group, and also the back lens group, because they hold together, which we'll show sooner. Before doing anything, you set a piece of just normal sticky tape whatsoever. It doesn't have to be the really super fine, just to have to be sticky tape. So you simply put it on here on both, so it have a little up here and a little up here, down here. And then you take a knife, a fine knife, and cut here. You maybe can see I've already cut here. And that's super important, because this is where the aperture assembly has to sit correct before you take it apart. And of course, when you put it back in again, sure. but this is extremely important. If you forget to set something here, you're really not in. Well, if you can make a scratch here, or you can make something with a permanent marker here, yeah, that's also fine. But at least you do something to set here. That's super important. I just set it here because, yeah, I found out, okay, it was the way to go into it. But we'll take it apart from the back, from the mount here. And I also make a lot of notes. I mean, really a lot of notes, because it's super important. You see here, under this screw, not really under the screw, but somewhere over here, there is a steel ball. So we have the 6 screws sitting around. You have the red dot here, as we see here. There is a steel ball and a small screw. So, and that's the way we started. Unscrew all 5 screws here, and we take this as the last one. It will prevent the small steel ball and the screw from, I mean the spring underneath here, to actually flew away. I use different tools. Some of them I have made myself, and also, of course, some I have bought. But now, we begin with the we will begin with the inner tube here. It will say, set it to near end. You see, this inner plastic tube has a like trap, I think so. It's it with 3 screws, one here, there, and there. And those old Leica lenses is prone to actually break because the plastic gets brittle over years. So, and it also get that at first when I went into the lens to figure out how it's actually put together. Well, so I'll begin with this one. It's the thinnest one. That's just very close to a kind of a corner. You can see there's not really much plastic in there, and it's really yeah, well, if you look at how old the lens is, yeah. This is just a 2mm flathead screwdriver, nothing special. It could be whatever brand, since the screw is not sitting very tight. So, but be sure to have all the screws put together in a way so you can easily figure out where they sit. So now then we have to set the aperture to 4. It will say if it's 22, we set it all the way over to here and a bit back. Well, 4 is actually fine, because there is here on the inner of the plastic, there is a little cutout here. So the aperture pin, connection pin here, has to go there. If it's all the way over to here, you cannot lift out the inner tube because there is no cut out here. So all the way over to 4, that's it. And then you can wiggle it out a little in that way. No problem, it's nothing special. So, and when we have a deeper look into this, how it looks, and we can just set it back to whatever, yeah, well, maybe a little. So, and then we take off the 5 screws. The red dot is here, so we can just begin here. It's just, it's of course JIS screws, no matter if it's a German lens. This is a vessel, very short JIS screwdriver. I could of course also have used my longer Moody tools, which is also fine, but I mean it works really good when being closer to the screws in that way. We take this one and I will just speed up the process. And now we come to the last one. So do yourself a favor at holding on to the the thumb here and your other fingers to the other end. Then you can prevent the mount from just lifting a little, and the small screw will maybe end up somewhere in the lens. So we'll just do that. So there. I mean, the screw is one thing. Just hold it together. And now we can lift out. You see the mount is quite loose at the moment. And we can just lift it out. Nothing special. Maybe the small steel ball will actually stick to the mount because of all the grease is here. But remember how it sits. I mean, the cutout for the lock is actually sitting here, and you see it's around not 90 degree, but well, less than that to the actual cutout lock. So the spring, and by the way, the Aperture steel ball is 1.5 millimeter. And the tiny spring in here that we also have to be sure what it is. We can just take it out. Oh, it's tiny. So you can see here. And it is around 1.46 millimeter in diameter and is around 2.8 millimeter long. So it's tiny, yeah. Maybe you can get, if you miss it or lost it, you can probably take it from another lens or camera or maybe. So that we have that on place. Next thing is we lift off the aperture ring itself. And remember how it sits actually. I mean, it can be sitting in a different way. It will say we can turn it over here. Okay. It doesn't really work that way. But there are 4 cutouts, so they can sit however, I mean, how you actually put them. So if you put it in wrong, well, you can just take it off again. Keep in mind the spring and the steel ball here. Now, those 4 cutouts is actually, I mean, 2 of them are actually for the 2 screws, one on each side here. So it changed the aperture when you actually move it. So we can just see how it works here. So it is, but of course, if you move the brass aperture, of course, it will also move this part here. And of course, well, when we are putting things together, it will all work again. So there. So it will we'll figure it out, but keep in mind where the small steel and the spring is sitting here, and you have the red dot here. So now we can take this out, and we'll just turn it a little. So there. Now, then I have to go a little away from infinity. You can probably set it on 1.5 meter or so, like this. And then I should be able to lift this out. It's very tight fit, maybe a little too more. So when you lift it out, it's really tight fit. So make sure you wriggle it a little, not too much. If it's not too easy to get out, you can just put it back in again, but very gently. So, and of course there is a hook down here. You might see. You can just have a little light down there. See this pin down there? It hold on a second. I know it's not easy. So it has to sit like this. See it down there? Hopefully, yeah, down there, over to the right. So, and it has to come out of this. So you lift out the back here, and unhook it onto that pin, and then you can lift it out. This is so it is. And don't even think about opening this retaining ring here. There are tons of steel balls under this retaining ring, so forget about it, right? Good. So we have that in mind. Next thing is, now we are beginning to come closer to what we actually want to do. We can pull out the lens hood, and then I will unscrew the front lens group. And for that I will use I could use the 47 millimeter, the gray rubber thingy, or I could use the open end of number 4 rubber cone, but I will put it together with the number 6 in that way. In that way I will get a lot more force onto the front here. It will say the inner here. Well, we could try with this one. Yeah, it's as long as I have been into the lens, but it was not that sticky when I at first went into it. So we can use this one, or we could use the other one and put a lot of force on and turn it. So there. And we will not really use the rubber cones for the rest, except for when I assemble it again. So unscrew this, and that's it. This is how it looks, nice and fine, no marks from oil or so. So this is actually fine. And then we're looking into the front of the Aperture assembly here. There's something we need to keep in mind, and that is, as I thought, I was really keep my brain in a high speed. I couldn't figure it out until, yeah, you see, I really walked very, very gently into this lens, but I can see others have been in there before me. You can see the scratching here. But the thing is, this retaining ring here, with a little set screw here, before you take it apart or do anything, you set a small scratch in here. Hopefully you can see it, both on the ring here, this ring, little tiny mark, and you also make a scratch inside this well, tube barrel for the aperture assembly. There's another ring here, the retaining ring, that actually holds the whole aperture assembly in place, together with the back lens screw. But more of that. So before we take anything apart, we have this tape here. Keep that in mind. It is super important, as long as with the marks in here before you take anything apart. You will also, and I figured that out, you will also need to set a mark down here, so you have an idea of where is my reference before I take anything apart. Of course, this tiny little screw, which we cannot see here, how do you get into it? We'll come into it sooner. But set a mark down here too. You probably can see I set a mark down here in line with the other one, and the mark in here on the inner side. So, and then we come to some tools. You see, to get into it, we actually need to come in from the back. Well, we could take off this retaining ring here, what we actually can do now. And for that, well, I actually make me a tool. It's just a baking ring tool. I don't think it has a brand or so, but it's actually fit very, very well in here. The ring in itself is 51.19 millimeter. And the two tabs here, well, they are around 1.5 or so millimeter. Let's see. So we can recall it. Well, not really. It is, yeah, you can say it 1 millimeter would be fine. And the thickness of this material here is 1.10 or so. So yeah, I can unscrew this ring by simply, I could use my lens spinner, old-fashioned style, but very rigid. And this one is especially more rigid than the other one. If you look for lens spinner, lens tool, it should be this one, this type, not this type. It's too flexible, but of course this isn't really old good quality, so I think the new one is not as good. But I like to use tubes. It could be whole saws or circular saws, whatever, and cut them into they fit. So we'll just get it, just have to better grip here. Okay. So, and we will just put it in here. Have a good grip here on the front, really good. You have to be really safe when you work this, so it's first go. And then I can simply unscrew this. The reason I like to use those tubes, hole saws, whatever, it's because it cannot just slip away like a lens spinner. So out with that ring. So nothing will happen right now. Even if I turn the lens over, the aperture assembly will not fall out, because there is a small lock screw in here, which you only can come into from the outside. And to get into that, we need to take a retaining ring down here. You maybe can see it. It sits down here. There is a notch, and there is also, I know it's difficult to see, it's really deep into the lens. You probably can see there is a notch down there. And for that, I was really going on to figure out, okay, which tube or circular hole saw could I use? And it turns out a 38 millimeter hole saw, like you can see here, some of those. I bought those. It doesn't cost that much, and it's a really good steel, and it fits perfect. It's good steel thickness and all that stuff, and the outside diameter should be at least 38, well, something like that, but that's fine. That's exactly what I need. And the thing is, it's very deep. See, I mean, compared to other hole saws, which is a very short, not very deep, it really works. So I can just put it in, and of course I make 2 pins, so I can just put it over here and just to where they sit there. So it's safe. I mean, well, you could use a lens spinner if you couldn't get them down there. And then I will use a wrench, a 17 millimeter here, and just unscrew it. And by the way, take out the lens hood out, and we can also set it to something like 1.5 meter, so I have a better grip here. So, and it can sit tight. So we'll just unscrew it, and we really have to have a good grip. Yeah. So you see what's happened when I turn this retaining ring in here. Look what's happened. And if there was something in here that was stick on to the aperture pin in here, this pin, it would have been that it would not align up perfect. So that's why you need to set the piece of tape here in the very beginning before you take it apart. That's important. There's no one to ask about this, so you have to be very safe and sure. Now I can just unscrew the retaining ring in here, and then get the fun stuff begins. And we can just take out the retaining ring, hopefully. Nah, not really. Well, it will just sit in there. But then I can just pull all the way out here, and hopefully it will come out. Yeah, now you can see it's out. And then the retaining ring comes out here. So this is how it looks inside. This is the front of it where the aperture pin, this pin here, goes through, and all the way to the back. And here the retaining ring, that actually fits perfect here. Really good. I think, I'm very sure it wouldn't have been so easy with a lens tool. Well, maybe Leica would also use the same thing as this one. I have no idea. So now we have used 2 tools, and we'll never use them again except for when I will assemble it again. So have a look in here how the focusing system is actually looking, since we are in here. I will not take it apart because it's not necessary. So I was thinking, with all the oil here on the blades, there should be a lot of oil in here somewhere, but there wasn't any, because this the aperture assembly is out of the focusing assembly, and the oil will never come out from the focusing system into the aperture, in my opinion. So where did that oil actually come from? Yeah, I figured it out, and I will show you it. Now, see, the little screw in here is actually covered by the lens hood. So if we look to here, and we just push the lens hood out, remember to put it back in again. So yeah, nothing special. There's some felt here around. So now you see here, this screw actually holds the aperture assembly in place. But I will also like to see, because I look closer into it, and when I open the aperture here, see what's happening here. Oh, not good. You see the marks on the glass, the lens element? It comes from the blades, because they just dig down to the, because it's so sticky, and will just set some oil marks there, grease marks there on the glass element. And of course we also need to get rid of this and clean it. So, but let's get into the aperture assembly itself. And if you want to make sure that, how do you get into the back lens screw? Well, you just, this ring here, this tube, like trap, is actually a little flexible, so you can just push on it. Keep a finger here and not just break it off. So you have to push it gently, like this, and then it's off. The plastic is not so brittle, so yeah, it's safe. And then we have a look into the back lens screw here, which is also looks quite good. Maybe a little dust on here, but no matter what. But I want to get the aperture assembly out, so I need to get rid of the spring. I will not fully take it off, but it's it with 2 small screws. And take care when you loosen the screws. I mean, when you unscrew them. Because it took me some time to figure out where there was one of those screws. They just flew away. Not good. But at least we can take one out. Have a good, so it will not just slip away. So you can just do it like this. Have a finger onto here and unscrew it. So it's lucky. I mean, we are lucky they are magnetic steel screws, not brass. And now, because I need to unscrew the 2 screws to get to actually pull the whole aperture assembly out that way, when I have unscrewed this one, of course. So what we do now is actually have a finger here on this side, so the spring will just not just send the screw away. Really be careful with that. So, and then the screw come out. I mean, the spring just, it would happen to me. Take care of that. Now, Now we are ready to take the whole aperture assembly out. The retaining ring is out. The spring is out. I mean the spring is off. And you have remembered to set marks here. Be sure to do that. There is nobody to ask about this. So, with a flathead screwdriver, we'll just take this out here. It's a 2mm, so no problem. So we can take this out. So, nothing special. And so now the aperture assembly, as you can see, it's quite loose. So I can just push it out. So this, now the fun begins. We'll come back to the lens element later. But now we are into the actual things where things happen. Where all the oil, which actually comes from inside here, or on the front here inside. Before taking it apart, remember to set a mark. Because the whole, especially this ring here, has to sit correct. The lock screw, which is this tiny set screw, actually go into the edge of this plate, and on the side of the, somewhere in here, which will prevent this ring from actually moving. And it will also prevent this plate here from moving. So make sure you set your marks before you take this apart. It's also a good thing, but not fully necessary, but it's really good thing when you actually put all the blades in, because they have to sit correct. They are all the same, but this ring here has to sit correct in relation to the outer and also this plate and everything. So I actually set a mark here with a pencil. No, it must be a pen. As you can see here. So I know the exact position of that. It will make it much easier. And when we unscrew this ring here, you take out the little set screw and you unscrew this ring. Now, then underneath here, underneath this ring, there is 25 small steel balls. And I can try, we'll just walk into it, but you really have to be careful in here. So, as we begin with the aperture fully open, like this. And our marks is there. So, we need a stand to work on. It makes things a little easier. So, when I unscrew the little set screw, and I also unscrew this retaining ring, I have to keep, really have a good grip here, so this ring will not move at all. It's important. So have a good grip here on both the front here and the aperture plate ring. So, and we need a small 1.2mm flathead screwdriver to actually get this out. You can see 1.2mm. I will just unscrew it. Now, don't loosen the grip on this one. And then I make another tool. Well, it's a 44mm hole saw. So it's not very expensive, but I also did the same trick. But of course I could use my compass lens tool to do it, no matter what. We can just do this. And it's actually already loose because the lock spring, the lock set screw in here will prevent it from moving. And that's why you need to have the good grip here. So we can just unscrew this. And don't flip it over. Not at all. So we can just unscrew this. So, there. And take it out. Nothing special. It's just a covering for the actual aperture moving parts in here. I don't know the name of it. And then, as I told earlier, just have to get so you can see it correct. You see, there is a small mark down here. So if we look here, down here, the set screw was actually screwed into both this ring and the outer ring. So remember to make sure you set a mark here so you know where this ring has to sit before you take it apart. You see here. So when I lift this ring off, be really careful. So put it on a stand like this or whatever you have to just make sure it cannot just move anywhere. And you, at the same time, you press down here, lift up this ring. And what will happen? Yeah, you see, there is a brass ring in here. And you can see, if we look careful, all the shiny oil film. So this is where the oil on the aperture plates actually come from, not from the focusing system. I don't know if we can take this brass ring. Yeah. It's because I haven't been in and looked and have the aperture plates out. So this is why I also work very slowly on this one. But this ring can actually be moved. So you can see. It's very shiny of all the oil which is in here. There maybe needs some oil, not oil, but grease, but it should be very, very small amount. So, and then in here, there's actually sitting, as I counted, there should be something like 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, around 30 small steel balls. And also those spacers, whatsoever called, those here. And when I lift this ring out here, all the steel ball will of course roll into somewhere. So I think, and this is the 32.8 millimeter rubber tool, and I think I will just get this off. Make sure also to set, that's also important, as I actually did. So we can set a mark here, up here, which will make it much more easy. And actually, our mark is, where did it go? It's here, around here. Just so we have a direction of where we put the things. But set a mark here so you know where this ring is aligned to. Now, then I will just lift up this plate. You can see how it will actually move if we do this. Can we do this? Maybe not. It looks like we cannot. Now, doesn't matter. If I take this up, I would think all the steel balls come out. But what will happen then? Yeah, you can see the blades are really sticky. But it should be possible. Or I could just put let all the blades go into this little kind of a... Can we just take this out? Not really easy. And I have no idea if it's the wrong or the right way to do it. I think so. Yeah. It looks like the steel ball and the spacers here has to go in at last. So I need to take them out first. It would make sense. Whoops, there. That's tricky. I had an idea of it was like this, but of course, I think it will be fine. Anyway, I actually like to work with especially lenses without a repair manual, because it's more, I think it's great fun actually. It's a really kind of a challenge to do this. And I have an idea of what happened when all the steel ball and the spacers is out. It would, then I can push. Let's see if I'm correct. No, not yet. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it will be fine anyway. And now we know how things should sit. So there, this goes out here, and the last spacer. All steel balls and spacers is out. So keep that away. Now, what will then happen? I would think it should be possible to lift this out. What then? There's not a screw there. Well, what will then happen? Yeah, I have my mark there. I would think it should be possible with a tweezer. Where did I have a tweezer? That this ring and also the brass ring will come out in one go, and also the brass ring in here. Now let's see. Whoa. Okay. Now that's something different. What about the oil? Yeah, you can definitely see the shiny of some oil in here. And this is how, I mean, this is why it is so extremely important to have those reference marks along with the other reference mark here, which I, just to be safe, will just set a small mark here. So now all the blades is actually sitting as they should there. Okay, it's not that difficult. I have to go, well, you put them in counterclockwise. I would think so. But let's just have one blade out and have a look at it. I said only one blade. And it's really difficult to set them in a wrong way. So there. And come on, little fellow. So there. And let's see how they sit in the, okay, they sit in this gap here. And the other pin here will go onto the actual ring here, the plate. So let's get that out. And this one here. I think it will take shorter time to get them back in again. Wow. Now you can really see here the surface in here is really oily and sticky. So yeah, there's simply too much oil. And I will actually not lubricate it because there's already, as you can say, there's already a lot of oil grease on the steel balls. So I really won't put anything on, in my opinion. It doesn't have to run dry, I know. Well, I can see, but it doesn't have to be fully covered in grease and oil and all of that stuff. So I might think I can get this ring out. Hopefully. It's actually a bearing ring with on the side here, it has to set correct. Now I see it. If we look closer, you see the upper edge of the brass ring. Look if you can see, it's actually a 45-degree grinded ring. So make sure it sits correct. And of course, I guess it must be the same with the other ring. Yeah, it is. We can see here, hopefully, if we look into the, yeah, you can see the edge of the brass ring is also kind of 45-degree. So that's fine. Something like that, I guess. Of course, I don't know, but it looks like something like that. But I think I will just put the blades in isopropyl alcohol, 99%. It looks like someone can also unscrew the pin here from the actual ring here, but well, maybe it's a better idea, but I don't think it's necessary. I'll just put the blades in, let them stay there for some time. I will also take a piece of fabric and clean this out from the old grease. But sooner on that, I will be back sooner.